Cool. Scott, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How you
Good.
doing?
I'm very well. I'm very well. Looking forward to the break at Christmas. So, yeah, how's the year been for you?
Oh, it's been really busy actually. Yeah, it's been a really busy year up until about a week ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of yeah. My main gig is touring with Tom Jones, so
Mm.
that's been great. And we did an American tour early, sort of March, April time,
Yeah.
maybe May, and then we did a summer tour around Europe, which finished, I guess, beginning of September, end of August sort of time. And then I've just had like a few other things that kind of kept me busy
Mm.
since then, most recently with a guy called John Ilseley, who was the bass player in Dire Straits, and
I saw that. You've got Stewie on drums, haven't you?
yeah, Stuart
So,
Ross,
yeah, I
yeah,
know Stewie for years. I think you did a pub gig with him maybe October time. I was like, is that Stewie on drums? He's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah, he's down in Bournemouth, isn't he now?
yeah. Well, he was playing bass, I think, on that
All
gig.
right. Okay.
So he plays bass. He's one of those talented people
He's
that
a
just
motherfucker.
picks up. So
Plays
yeah,
everything.
yeah,
When I first started gigging with him, he was on bass, and then I turned up to a gig, and we had another guy who was on bass, and the MD said Stewie's on it. I was like, but we got two bass players. And he's like, no, Stewie's on drums. I was like, oh right, I didn't realize he played drums. He's like, yeah, drums is his first instrument. I was like, oh, I didn't realize.
yeah, yeah. He's very natural
Yeah,
musician.
and a lovely guy as well. So yeah, so you the Tom Jones gig, and then John Ilsley. How
Yeah. How was the John Ilsley thing? That was great. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of sort of putting my Mark Knopfler hat on,
yeah.
as it were. So kind of getting into character really. I mean, I've played with John on and off for about 10 years now,
Mm.
9 or 10 years. When I joined, it was actually a guy called Phil Palmer who was doing the majority of the lead stuff. And Phil
Yeah,
Palmer, I don't know if you know him, he's a bit of a legend from the 80s and 90s,
yeah,
session guitarist. So that was so I was taking a back seat, and then Robbie McIntosh did it after that. So I was playing with Robbie, and then this last tour, I kind of got to do more of the lead stuff. I was playing with a friend of mine called Adam Chetwood,
yeah,
and it was cool. Yeah, it's definitely like I didn't grow up really listening to Mark Knopfler that much, so I only got into it more recently, sort of through doing the John gig. Really, I mean,
yeah.
I've always admired him, but it was cool, kind of getting into that mindset, and I was trying to play with my fingers and
Mm.
do it, try and get in that mindset and sort of. I really like particularly the early Dire Straits stuff as well, where it's very clean
Yeah.
Strat sound.
Yeah, yeah. How do you find? Were you doing it just fingers or picking fingers?
I did, yeah. I had a pick there sometimes because some of the tracks he did use a pick on, like for the rhythm guitar parts,
Yeah,
stuff like Espresso Love and I think maybe Tunnel of Love and stuff like that. These kind of bar chord rhythm
yeah, yeah,
parts
yeah,
that are
yeah.
really cool. But yeah, yeah. Normally have a pick like sort of hidden away
Right.
there,
Yeah, yeah,
or put it on my mouth or something, and then kind of yeah,
yeah, yeah. Because I mean, I've tried a few of the Mark Knopfler solos, like the Sultans of Swing, and I said to somebody, "Yeah, no, yeah, I got it down." He gave me a guitar. I went, "Go on, do it." And so I had a pick and fingers. He was like, "No, no, no, you got to do it with your thumb." I was like, "I ain't doing it with my thumb.
yeah.
I'm not going to go that far down the rabbit hole. It's pick and fingers or nothing."
It's a bitch, that song. I love it, and I've played it quite a few times, and it doesn't matter how many times you practice it. When you get to a live situation, and it's quite a long song as well. It's like
Really
maybe
long. It's like deceptively
six,
long.
yeah. And by the time it gets to that end, and it's one of those guitar solos that everyone knows,
Yeah.
even sort of non-guitarists would know it, and it doesn't matter how many times you do it. By the time you get to that point of the song where it's building to the
Mm.
diddle, it always feels like it's coming, and then your sort of hands kind of tighten up a bit, and it
Right. Yeah.
feels it feels like shit. Am I going to make it? Am I going to get? Am I
Hold your
gonna,
breath. Here we go.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I quite enjoy that feeling though. It's quite fun when there's a bit of pressure. But yeah, that song in particular, I'm sure Mark doesn't play it the same or never played it the same way twice, but it's trying to get it like the record is
Yeah.
tricky.
Yeah, it's tricky. And yeah, and like you said, everybody knows it. So it's kind of like, I mean, it's a bit like Sweet Child of Mine. Everybody knows it. So when you do it, you've got to try and get as close as you can.
Right? Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But yeah, it's cool. And you also had a signature pedal out this year. Was it this year or last year?
yeah.
A fuzz pedal.
Yeah, first pedal. Yeah, well, we've had a few over the years. We've had a few different sort of ones, but yeah, the last one we had that came out was an octave pedal
Mm.
called the Octavian,
Yeah.
after my name. That came out maybe a month or two ago, and we just did like a little limited run, like 100 pedals.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does like a high octave, um, sound, sort of Hendrixy,
Yeah.
Band of Gypsies kind of style. And we added like a clean blend, so you can get the the wet signal with the dry signal, as it were. So you can sort of have, which means you can kind of play chords with a bit of the octave sound in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because on its own, the octave doesn't necessarily track chords very well, or more
Yeah.
than one
Yeah.
note,
Yeah.
which is a cool sound in itself. Almost like a ring modulator or something. But
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, it does.
I was going to ask you, like, how did you get into music? What was your kind of your pathway in?
Well, through my parents. I mean, ever since I can remember, I was into music and around music. My dad played guitar back when he was sort of growing up, and he worked in music shops.
Mm.
And when he was before I was born, but he was a big music fan, and he was in bands in his sort of teenage years and stuff. Mostly sort of covers bands and stuff like that. Um, in and around Portsmouth
Yeah.
in the 60s. Pretty cool because they got to open for like the Beatles back
Oh,
in
wicked.
1963, and bands like Jerry and the Pacemakers, and kind of like groups of that period. And then so he was always into music and knew a lot about guitar and the sort of history of it all, and rock and roll and stuff like that. And then I think he was just a sort of music fan, and he got into other things. And then when I came along, there was a Spanish guitar in the house,
Mm.
which was the only guitar that I think he sort of kept from his days of playing guitar, and I just would always play it. And I think I probably learnt my first chords on it through him when I was about 3 or 4,
Okay.
something, and had a little ukulele. And when friends of my folks would come over, I would play. And I think I took to it quite naturally and was just into it and all the music around it. I mean, it would have been the 80s. My mum and dad would have friends over, and they play lots of music,
Mm.
like Donald Fagen, the Nightfly, and
Right. Right. Right.
Terence Trent D'Arby, Michael Jackson, and Grover Washington, and stuff like that, as well as kind of rock and roll stuff.
Mm.
So yeah, sorry, I'm probably blabbering on a
No.
little
No.
bit, but yeah,
Blabber away, man.
but yeah, ever
Did
since
you
I
have
can
like
remember.
formal lessons or anything like that? Did you go to school? Did you go to
A bit later,
college?
yeah. So through school, when I was about, so I learnt basic stuff at home.
Mm.
And then I think at school you just kind of learn everyone learnt an instrument. Most kids, I guess, would learn like violin or something, or
Yeah.
piano. But I had a good guitar teacher, a guy called Morris Olbin,
Hmm.
probably from when I was, like 5, 6, 7 sort of time, and learning sort of classical songs, Greensleeves and stuff like that.
Okay.
Uh, but I was already kind of playing electric guitar at, at home, rock and roll stuff, Johnny
Yeah.
B.
Yeah.
Good and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
things like that. So that was my that was what I was into. There was a, a West End musical show called about Buddy Holly, and my folks took me to see that, and that
Mm.
was really the moment that I was like seeing this this actor on stage with a Strat.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the gig, I sort of ran up to the front, and he threw me a plectrum, and it
Nice.
said Buddy on it. And I just remember catching that, and I was sort of like, this, it just felt like that's
This
what I
is
want to
it.
do.
This is it. Yeah. Have you still
Yeah,
got the pick?
probably somewhere. Yeah, I've got a little box of
It's nice. I like.
things.
I love doing things like that. Like I did a show a couple of weeks ago. No, a couple of no, end of October, and it was a week production of not We Will Rock You, Rock of Ages. And there was I got to the last night of the show, and there was a girl. She must have been about 7 or 8, and she had this A4 sign up. I couldn't see what and she'd written something across the page. She was holding up the whole show, and I was like, "It's the last night." Like, and because there's quite a bit of interaction between the crowd and the cast and the audience, and there's a narrator. I was like, he's going to see it. He's going to do something. He'll say
Yeah,
something about the sign. He'll make a comment. He'll do something. And it got to like the last song, and no one had done anything. And so I got out, and I was on a wireless pack. So I got out onto into the audience and pulled her forward. I gave her a pick, and I turned. Everyone was waving, and I didn't realize that her mum was in the cast as well.
Yeah.
I thought this was a really amazing experience for her,
Yeah.
like to be kind of acknowledged. And when I spoke to her mum and dad afterwards, they were like, "Oh man, that was so good. Thank you so much. It was amazing."
Yeah.
And I was like, "I'm just surprised no one else did it." I was like, "Okay, so I'm going to have to do it."
Yeah. I think it's a powerful thing for kids, isn't it? Like those sort of moments that really
Yeah,
sort of stand out, and they can really change the course of someone's life, just like a little moment like that.
yeah. I hope so. I hope so. It's cool. I try not if I always see if I see kids in the audience, I try and give them something or get some drumsticks or a set list and just sort of hand it out because you don't know what kind of impact that's going to have.
Yeah. Might totally have the opposite effects as well.
Yeah,
Yeah. Don't
like
want to do that.
not doing that. That weirdo came up to me, gave me all this crap. I don't know what to do with it. Yeah, I think on the whole, it's quite positive, especially if they're there because they've obviously got some kind of interest in music.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So as you were sort of getting a little older, I mean, did you go to music college or anything like that, or is it straight from sort of school into gigs? Or
I was doing gigs in pubs sort of from quite a young age. I mean, the first gig I did was probably when I was like 7 or 8,
mm,
very much sort of with my dad at the forefront, kind of, you know, making it all happen. And then I got into gigging really when I was like 12 or 13 in pubs,
yeah,
doing gigs, sort of, maybe not every week, but every other week, and sort of fronting a band with older musicians
mm,
around me, adult musicians playing with me, and so that was fun. That was
yeah,
cool, and then sort of did that up until, well, still do that really. But
yeah,
yeah, I did. Yeah, I finished school, and I think I went to music. There was a music college. I wasn't really that aware of like any guitar specific, courses like,
yeah,
guitar tech or anything like. I don't know why, it just wasn't on my radar.
mm,
I did sort of start I think it was like a sound technology course or a music production course at a place called, Knight and Heath, which was in Poole.
mm,
But it felt, guess it would have been like after school, so 17, 18. It sort of felt like I already knew what I was doing though. I don't know if that's just kind of being a bit like young and stupid or whatever,
right,
but
yeah, yeah,
like it didn't. I only did it for like a month or two, and then I kind of quit. And I was like, I'm going to be a musician, and
yeah,
just so
okay,
I didn't really have chance to study anything, but I was gigging all the time and just completely obsessed with guitar and music and amps and
yeah,
each week you'd kind of discover a new guitarist or a new thing, and then you feel yourself kind of getting better between each gig,
yeah,
like, oh, I've got this new, almost like learning a new sort of little, like, it's new licks or whatever, but like there'd be this whole other vocabulary of stuff, and you're like, oh, now I can do this, and
yeah, yeah,
I'll try and do that as well. And so, yeah, I was just fully into it. I
okay.
think probably drove my parents crazy because they're probably going, well, what are you going to do with your
What do you do with your life? No, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Okay, so well, I mean, what was your kind of like your learning process? So going from sort of your lessons at school with you said you have sort of classical lessons and doing that, and getting from that into sort of rock and roll. What was your learning method for that? Was it just jamming along to records? Was it?
Yeah, to begin with, it would have been like my dad would learn something and then he'd show me. So
Mm,
watching and copying,
yeah.
and that's pretty much still how I learn. And then watching videos of people or listening to things, rewinding, watching it again, seeing where on the neck they would do something,
Hmm.
and sort of realizing, oh, it sounds different if it's played there to up here, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's easier if you play it in this position. So just always like watching things and listening and copying things. That's the way I kind of learned, really. I didn't learn much. I guess there was some theory involved, but not really from that. It was more just by ear
Hmm.
and copying.
Yeah. Okay. So 'cause I think that's. I mean, did you ever learn to read? I assume not.
No, I
No.
think very basic stuff when I was at school, but nothing that I've been able to kind of
Yeah.
carry with me, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's. I mean, like learning today. Like I've spoken to so many people about learning music today, and there's so much out there. Like if you wanted to, like even if you niche down as small as you could get it, there'll be videos and lessons available online.
Yeah.
And what I see from from loads of sort of youngish players is technically they're advancing so much quicker than certainly that I was, but they're missing like the huge chunk of the listening aspect. Like, can you tell me what chord that is that's being played? What's that line? Could you figure out that line without
Yeah,
me giving you any sheet music, no tab? I'm not gonna. There's no one's gonna walk you through it. Can you just
yeah,
hear it and replicate it? And there's like a
yeah,
fucking huge gap. And even things like just can you just comp a G chord for a minute? And like people are struggling. Like, no, I can blaze through this Steve Vai piece. Like, great. Can you just comp a G chord for me?
yeah,
And they're just like that timing, that groove, that feel, all of that is kind of
yeah. That's interesting. I mean, I was always just about kind of copying something and trying to get it as close to the thing as possible, to the source, whatever it was, a guitar lick or a song. Even when I was really little, like, and I think I used to have like a cassette recorder or something,
mm,
and I kind of worked out. I think I had two cassette recorders or something, and I worked out that if I played along with one, and sort of listening to it, I could record it onto the other one, just with
yeah.
the inbuilt microphone sort of thing. And I can remember just sort of spending a lot of time doing things like that and just recording myself and listening back. And then
Mm.
I had a 4-track Tascam thing, which have come back into fashion actually.
I threw mine away about 10 years
Yeah,
ago. I was like, "Oh, I should have kept it."
yeah. And so I was always recording and listening back. And why doesn't that sound quite right? And then just trying to refine it. And even just when I watch videos of guitarists or see people playing in the flesh or whatever, just copying how they would move the hand or
Yeah.
even their sort of body language and stuff, just to try and sort of get closer to
Mm.
the thing. So I was kind of, before I sort of knew how to improvise properly, I guess that's what I was kind of doing, is just copying licks, playing
Yeah.
licks,
Yeah, yeah.
learning a whole solo or a song, and kind of trying to just get it as close as I could to
Yeah.
whatever the original was.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think that's such a useful skill, and like it focuses in on so many different aspects of playing music. It's not just can you play this technically. You're then talking about it. Can you play it sonically? Then you're working on your ear as well, which is something that's massively neglected. But I mean that's kind of how I did it as well. I mean, I started playing. I assume same sort of time as you. There was no internet. It was kind of mid to late 90s. So you either had somebody teach you and show you, or I don't know, even like maybe a guitar magazine, like Guitar Techniques.
Yeah, guitar magazines. Yeah, yeah,
They
they
were
were a big thing,
there was
and they
like
come with backing tracks, wouldn't they, as
yeah,
well?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I got one as well the other day. I got one off eBay, like an old Guitar Techniques magazine. I was like, how much? Like the amount of like info and
yeah,
lessons and
yeah, yeah,
tutorials that are in there for a fiver plus the CD. It was like this is a could be a
yeah,
year's worth of work in here.
yeah, and there'd be videos, hot licks videos and things like
Yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah,
and, someone, I think that was the thing, 'cause you didn't have YouTube or anything, so when you get one video or one tape or CD or something, that was like, a whole wealth of information you could study. If it was just like one concert of,
yeah,
someone, and you could just watch it over and over and over and over and study it and study it, and it was like almost like and some stuff wasn't always the easiest to get hold of, like, mm, so maybe you'd get a copy of it from a friend, or you'd go to, there used to be a guitar shop in Southampton, and the guy there, Tim, one of the guys that ran it, he'd often just recommend an album,
mm,
like, "Oh, you gotta check out this Stevie Ray album or this, Eric Johnson album," for example, and
yeah.
there's this great track on there, and then me and my dad would go away and buy the album, or my dad would find it, and then that would be like a sort of, wow, this like this
Mm.
whole world of
Yeah, yeah,
stuff.
yeah. And then you got to try and figure it out and play it.
Yeah.
Especially Eric Johnson stuff. Like the first time I heard it, was like, it can't be. What? It can't be. How's he getting it that quick?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I never really tried to I say Eric Johnson, I never really tried to play any of that stuff too much. I think I was so into, like, Stevie Ray and
Mm.
blues stuff, and Hendrix and stuff, that I think even growing up, I kinda knew that that was, like, I don't know, like just what I was into. Even though I always listened to lots of stuff, there was like, if anything was maybe too fast or technical, I was like, I don't think that's in my wheelhouse
Yeah.
somehow, you know, like, but still would listen to it and
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. And so how, like today when you're learning stuff like for shows and like if Tom Jones sends you a new set list, it's like there's a dozen on here, half a dozen that we've never done before. Do you usually get charts for it, or is it he just sends you the track, you learn it off from the
No,
album, and then you figure it out in rehearsals?
yeah, bit of that. I've had to learn quite a lot of songs recently because I've been doing sort of gigs with different artists. So, you know, learning Dire Straits stuff, for example,
Yeah.
or I did this gig with an American singer called Gavin DeGraw, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
had to learn a whole set to go in and sort of no rehearsal and just play the gig.
Mm.
So what's really helpful, I find in that sort of situation, is if they can send you a live gig,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
ideally stems or something,
yeah.
and then I can just sort of hone in on what parts I need to learn. With someone like Tom, if there's a new song and it's from an album, then it's just trying to, maybe I'll make a little chart, but it will be probably unreadable to anybody else.
Right.
It's more like a story
Is your own
than
shorthand.
a chart. Yeah, so I'll write the key, and if it sounds like something, I'll kind of reference, oh, it's a bit like
Mm.
such and such a track.
Yeah.
It's like got this kind of feel to it. It's a shuffle, it's blues, whatever. And then kind of just, I don't think there's any substitute for me personally of just listening and learning and listening to it lots and playing it lots and
Mm.
getting in the vibe of it. So yeah, I will make kind of notes, and I find that helps just get it in my system.
Yeah.
You know, oh, it's a double chorus. Oh, when that verse comes in, there's a stop, and it comes in on the end of whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just kind of make some basic things like that. Um, some songs are easier than others. It depends as well. What if you know if you're playing like maybe a gig with a singer and you're the only accompanist or you know the only person playing with them, then you really have to learn the stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any sort of quick way around that, unless you're really good at reading and you
Mm.
can sight read and just kind of. I did a gig with a singer called Shoshana Bean, who's an American. She started off like as a Broadway singer. She was in Wicked,
Mm.
and she's got an amazing voice. Amazing, yeah. She can just sing the shit out of anything, basically, an amazing range. But and the gig was in London, and it was so she sent me through some chord charts, which actually I can get through
Yeah.
if they're fairly basic, you know.
Yeah.
But I still found it easier to kind of make my own kind of notes and just try and learn it as best that I could,
Mm.
because there's lots of things that can happen. I feel like in the heat of the moment on a gig that might me not being very good at reading or having the chops to kind of do that. They want to go around the chorus again, or they want to, you know, extend the solo, or
Yeah,
they
yeah.
just want to break it down. Where I wouldn't be able to kind of deal with the stress of having like music in front of me. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
um, yeah. Did that answer the question?
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. I mean, like so many of these questions, like how you get through these situations. Some of it comes back to listening. Like I've
Yeah,
started doing like reading gigs over the last 18 months, and I was so like you said, I was so panicked and focused on the dots that I was forgetting to listen and play music.
well, that's the whole thing, really, isn't it? You know, it's like for me, and I'm sure a lot of people like. It's about trying to emote something, you know, without getting too kind of arty about it.
Mm.
It's like, you know, being in the moment and just, you know, if you're playing with a singer, working with them, vibing off that what they're doing,
Yeah,
and giving them what they need to be able to sing the song and have and be able to do that, and you being able to add something to that. And so sometimes it's sort of going beyond what's just what the chords are. You know, it's the feel of it or the sound, or maybe
mm.
I can use this guitar with this pedal on this song, and it will kind of give them, you know, or whatever it might be. Just give. It's trying to get your head out of it being a technical thing and put it more into like the gig, I guess, or the you know,
Yeah, a sonic thing.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
and just the feeling, just make it feel good, you know.
yeah. I mean, yeah. That's again. I think that's something that can only really be sort of learn on the gig. It can only really be learned when you start dipping your toes into doing whatever live shows you're doing. It's not
Yeah,
something that can be easily taught, through a video or through a book.
yeah. There's definitely something different that happens in the air from the rehearsal to the gig.
Mm.
particularly with singers like Shosanov or like with Tom, where um, as soon as there's an audience there and you're in the moment and they're going off,
Yeah,
then you're going with them, or maybe you're pushing them a bit and they're pushing. It's like those are the moments where it's kind of just like, whoa, I don't even know what kind of happened there, but it just
yeah,
went off. And that's kind of what you're sort of searching for, I think, sometimes. And I can't do that with like an iPad in front of me generally, because I feel like I'm kind of, if I've got it there, I'll be looking at it
yeah.
and
You're chained to it.
yeah, and then I'm sort of like, you know, oh, it's a B minor. What's a B minor?
I've forgotten.
Yeah. Whereas when I've not got it there and I'm just playing, I'm like, well, I can feel it's going to that chord, or I
Yeah,
can
yeah.
sort of, I know the song, so I know that the middle eight is this and it's coming up, and I can play into that in a certain way or whatever.
Mm,
But that's mostly because I'm not very good at reading.
yeah. And no, no, it's just one of those things. Like I think it's sorry, it's one of those. Like I said, it can't. One of those things that can't be taught, or is difficult to teach. And I've got a few students that I've got them on both end of the spectrums. Like there's one kid in particular. I'll teach him a song. I'll say and I'll write him out a chord chart. I'll say just go home, just put it on, play along to it, and he'll come back in the next day. He'll put his book up and he'll start playing it, and I'll close the book. I'm like, can you do it from memory? And he'll sit there and he'll still play
Yeah.
it through memory. I was like, okay, well, how did you know where the middle eight's coming in? He's like, I just kind of I just know where it is. And I was like, "No, but use words. What word?" He said, "I just feel it." I was like, "Yeah, good.
Yeah.
You should." And I said,
Yeah.
"After a while, you'll start to feel what 4 bars feels like. You won't be
Yeah.
counting it. You won't be
Yeah.
conscious of it. You'll feel
Yeah.
when 4 bars are up and you
Yeah.
move chord or you something happens."
Yeah.
And then there's someone on the kid on the other end of the like, fucking hell, I'm holding his hand through it and I'm telling him C, G, and E minor. No, it's E minor. No. And I asked the other kid, I said, look, I said, do you have any kind of like emotional response to music? And he couldn't say no quicker. I was like, we're really struggling. And it got to like the last lesson of term. And I said, I really think you should have a chat with your parents because it's been 2 years and I'm still struggling for you to play like A minor to C or C to A minor. Like you're struggling with that. And that should just be instinctive at this point. I said, I think
Yeah.
you need to talk to your parents and like if you want to do it, fine, but like it's just an uphill struggle for you. And he doesn't listen to music. He has no kind of connection to it. I was like, why are you here? Like genuinely, why are you here? Yeah. It's difficult to get an answer. But then
Out. Out my
just
room.
It's I just find it bizarre, and I've spoken about it on almost nearly every episode. It's like kids aren't really listening to music as much as they should, and
Yeah.
it's just so readily available.
Right. That's interesting. I mean, I don't know how much of that is like sort of a technology thing, or schools maybe not having this good music sort of stuff going on. I mean,
Mm.
I think it was, I think, well, I'm pretty sure it was compulsory to learn an instrument. Is it still compulsory? I don't know.
I don't know if it's compulsory. Like music education in schools now has just been decimated, so it's
Yeah.
just not there anymore.
Because it was always like orchestras, and then, I mean, I couldn't, like, even with that, I couldn't really read. I used to actually play a bit of drums in the orchestra, and
Mm.
I just said, "Just play me the song first, and
Yeah,
then I'll riff
I'll
over
rip it.
that."
Yeah.
And, but, there'd be like kind of, I don't know, like kind of they did like a Bugsy Malone
Mm.
show, and I'd play on in the band for that and things. So there was kind of always like music stuff going on. So I guess it really comes down to like when you're growing up, like those early, I feel like early with music, I could be wrong, but I feel like a lot of it is like those early years,
Mm.
those like formative years, and you're like a sponge. And if you, it's like learning a language or something, isn't it? And if you're around music and it gets into your sort of blood, then
Mm.
it's kind of with you forever.
Yeah.
Like but maybe I don't know how that happens. I guess it's like some kids that get into football or something, and they just naturally get into it through their parents or something, and then
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
just aware,
yeah.
But there's definitely also an inbuilt, like you say with that kid, there's like also just an inbuilt thing where I think you just have your kind of inner metronome and
Mm,
feel for music and your ear for music kind of from day one in a
yeah,
weird way. And
yeah.
of course you can improve on those things. I I just remember, like, I don't know what, you know, I would never count how many bars there were in something or
Mm,
anything like that. I would just be like, yeah, I just know it comes in around then,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and I still feel like that. If I start counting, I mean, I'm probably not selling myself very well here, but if I start counting like 1, 2, I get it messes me up. Whereas I'm like, I know that's 4 bars, I know that's 8 bars, you know, I just unless it's something really specific,
A bar of
and then
13/8.
yeah,
I'll
yeah,
count that.
and then you're like, yeah, right, I'm there. But I guess a lot of what I kind of do is kind of blues or pop or rock or soul or something. So I'm not playing kind of like really intense kind of jazz, or I'm not
Yeah.
playing with big bands or orchestras where you got to sit out for a certain amount of
Mm,
time and stuff like that. So, um, yeah,
yeah. Yeah. Again, it comes back to listening and feeling, which
yeah.
so what about practice? Do you refer to playing as practice? Is it just something that you just pick up and play? Did you ever sit down with like did you ever do the metronome thing and working up and down scales?
I did the metronome thing, yeah, more when I was recording stuff when I think I had Cubase on
Mm,
my computer, and I can remember, yeah, just trying to lock in with the metronome. Never learnt any scales,
mm,
and if I just try and play all the time, really, and if I'm not playing, just trying to listen to music that turns me on,
mm,
something that I'm into, and that's not necessarily muso-y music.
yeah,
It could be anything, but just something that kind of moves me that I find inspiring. But I do try and yeah, I try not to call it practice because it almost sounds too formal,
yeah,
and that word in itself can be a little bit scary because it's like, what do you practice? You know,
yeah,
should be practicing the things you're maybe not very good at.
mm,
Um, but I just try and play all the time and get into guitar playing as a whole. And, you know, can be, I would say more, I guess I practice when, you know, I've been playing a lot lately, but that's been practicing sort of songs and
yeah,
learning songs. So it feels like by doing that, you're sort of staying in shape, as it were, on the guitar, because it's a
yeah,
good mental exercise learning a whole song. For example, Sultans of Swing, if someone says you've got to learn every lick in that song, note for note,
mm,
and play it, but interpret it in a way that's like not just uh, an impression of
or a
someone,
carbon
you
copy,
know,
yeah,
or a carbon copy. That's like a good practice for me. And when I started learning John's set, because I was playing with my fingers, you know, I was getting kind of calluses on these fingers from
yeah,
and
yeah,
on my thumb and stuff, and then you build up that, and then now when I'm playing like fingerstyle, it feels like, oh, that feels a lot more comfortable and natural because I've been playing that lots.
mm.
But yeah, I don't know. How about you? Do you practice?
Yeah, do you know, I mean, I've got 2 kids, so finding the time to sit down and practice is tricky, but I tell you what I find the problem when I sit down and go, "Right, I'm gonna do some practice, like, I'm gonna work on this," and I'll do like I went through, like, this massive country phase, and I was just really working on, like, hybrid picking and trying to get some of those country isms in, and I feel like I'm like you said, it's starting to feel a bit more comfortable. Then the phone goes, like, "Oh, could you do a show next week?" It's a musical show. So, all right, so I've got to put down all the country stuff I've just done. Now I've got to get the dots out, and now I've got to learn all these charts. And by the time
Yeah,
that show's finished, it's like all the country stuff's forgotten. So I'm kind
yeah,
of it's like I do a little piece of something, and then something else comes in. It's like, oh, I've got to put that down. Now I've got to do this.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but I do try and like it's fairly similar to you. I'm working on whatever it is coming up for the next gig or the next show or
yeah,
the next thing. So hopefully in
yeah,
January when everything's really quiet, I can sit down and do something
yeah.
like. Cause I've just got into jazz, so I've been trying to play jazz for like 15 years, and I was having lessons with a guy called Pete Callard. I don't know if you heard of him.
That's right.
He and after about 5 or 6 lessons, I just said to him, "Look, I don't listen to jazz. I don't listen to it for enjoyment the same way that I would listen to Hendrix or Pearl Jam or Nirvana or anything like that. And he's like, well, if you're not listening to it, there's no point learning it, because
Yeah.
it's like trying to learn a language, but not listening to how native speakers speak. Like if you wanted to learn French, but you never listen to a French person talk, you're never going to speak French. It's going
Yeah.
to be this really odd, stifled from a book kind of language.
Oh yeah, you got to be obsessed with something,
Mm,
you know, call it, yeah, maybe obsessed sounds a bit weird, but I think you do to really get into the heart and soul of, you know, I don't know, just let's say for me, playing blues guitar or Texas style blues guitar or something when I was growing up, I
mm,
was just obsessed with it,
yeah.
that was all I thought about pretty much, and all I cared about. And I think it's like you're saying, getting into jazz. I mean, I do like listening to jazz, and I've got friends of mine, name drop Paul Stacey, who's a great
Mm,
jazz guitarist, and and I'll try to get him to show me things that are jazzy or whatever, or I might see something he does and kind of copy it, but it's not really my wheelhouse, and so I haven't sort of gone there because, like you're saying, it's like learning a language, really,
mm,
and you've just got to immerse yourself in it, and it will begin to click if you're. It's like with any. I think you end up playing what you like listening to, really.
yeah.
Like it's like the sort of food you eat. You eat what you like. You're not going to
Yeah.
suddenly develop a passion for sushi if you ate fish. It's like
Yeah.
so.
I,
It's like you.
I heard a great, like, scrolling around on the internet, a guy, Danny Rabin. I don't know if you know him.
No, don't think so.
He runs a fusion band in the States called Marbin, and he's kind of, I found him on Instagram ranting about music schools charging, $250,000 to go to school, and it's just a fucking rip-off. But one of the things he said, like if you think of music like food, like you've got all the food at the top that you should be eating. You should be eating your greens, you should be eating fruits and vegetables and grain. This is all stuff that's good for you. And then at the bottom, you've got like McDonald's and Burger King. Tastes really good, but it's fucking awful for you. He said, if you think of that in terms of music, you've got people like John Coltrane at the top. Like, you should be listening to a bit of John Coltrane, even if it's just for a little bit. Even if you don't really like it, it's good for you. And then as you go down the line, you know, you've got all your guilty pleasures at the bottom. I was like, that's kind of an
What
interesting way of looking.
what would they be?
I don't know.
Simply Red? No.
I've got a lot of students have been bringing in K-pop,
Right. I
which is
didn't know
like
that.
Korean pop music.
Right.
It's like mass-produced Korean pop music,
Yeah.
very hooky. You can't not hum and sing along to it. So it's kind of, when they ask for it, I'm like, okay, but it's sing-alongable and fun little songs.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Well, I think sometimes as well, you might think you're not into something, but sometimes you need like a way in,
mm,
you need like someone to, to sort of, it's like for me, I didn't grow up being into Bob Dylan, for example. And
mm,
then I can't remember I think I watched a Rolling Thunder review on Netflix, which is about a tour he did in the 70s.
yeah,
And I saw a couple of live videos and then it just suddenly clicked.
okay, yeah,
Maybe like 10 years ago or something. And I was like, I totally get it now.
yeah,
And that was something that I just kind of brushed off as like, oh, I don't really get what that is. And now it's like, and so sometimes you just need that, like that little way into something, and
yeah,
then it opens up a whole world of stuff. And that's a good thing about hanging out with other musicians or other
mm,
guitarists. I find that kind of environment of being around other people and talking about music and then playing stuff,
yeah,
sharing stuff is really important. And that's maybe not something you can get over the internet. I mean, I know you can from sharing things online or whatever, but I think really that comes from like just hanging out with people that you look up to
mm,
and they turn you onto a record or a guitar player or
yeah, yeah,
a song and you're like, oh, that's so cool. And maybe they explain a bit. I've had times when I've been on the road with Robbie McIntosh, who's great guitar player, and he's been really helpful to me in my career. And he would just play me things like a
mm,
Little Feat record or something,
yeah,
and or anything like a Pat Metheny thing or something, and then you're like, wow, that's so cool. Hadn't
Yeah.
heard that, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't have probably found that on my own.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, like access to music is now so easy, but it's just in such abundance that it just becomes
Yeah,
overwhelming. It's like, well, if I want to get into, let's say, someone like Pat Metheny, you put him on Spotify, and there's 30 years back catalog. It's like, well, where the fuck do I start? I've got
yeah,
no idea where to
yeah,
start.
yeah,
And
and within
you
that,
might pick a record, and it's like, this is my really experimental fusion one. You listen to it, going,
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
I hate that.
yeah,
And they're
yeah.
like, no, 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 you should listen to this one. That's much more accessible.
Totally. Yeah, and that comes from I think that's just a good reason to, like, play with lots of musicians and hang out with lots of musicians, and particularly people that you look up to, because you're gonna respect their
Mm.
opinion on music, and so when they tell you, "You gotta check out this album, this
Yeah.
Weather Report album, or this, I don't know, D'Angelo thing or something," and then you're like, "Oh, cool," even if it's
Yeah.
one track that just
Yeah.
gets
Yeah.
you, and
Or a
yeah,
guitar hook or a guitar line. It's like, oh,
yeah,
what is that? We'll figure that out. And
yeah,
then
yeah, and
shoehorn
a
that into
and
your own playing.
yeah, yeah, and that can that's a really cool way of kind of coming up with your own sound a bit, which of course is very difficult on the guitar to have any kind of voice that doesn't
Mm.
reference like other people. But kind of simple way of doing that is to sort of steal from lots of
Lots of
different
different people.
things and put it
Yeah.
together a bit.
Yeah.
And so, I remember watching like an Albert Lee video where he was playing some country bends.
Yeah.
And, you wouldn't associate Albert Lee with, like, I don't know, like neo soul funk kind of
Mm.
stuff. But if you put those kind of country licks in the context of more a sort of neo soul funk kind of soul thing,
Mm.
the crossover, they really work, and
Yeah.
it's kind of all related. And a lot of that stuff has a country-ish sort of thing, particularly on guitar, country or blues or whatever. And,
Yeah.
so I've always enjoyed like kind of like, oh, I can nick that and I can
Yeah.
put it with this thing and come
Yeah.
up with something that's
A little your own.
yeah. Yeah, hopefully, yeah. Mostly just stealing.
Whenever I listen to players, like one of the things that's like my absolute like nails down a chalkboard is when I listen to people with bad vibrato. Like if I listen to it, I'm just like motherfucker. And I had a friend of mine who posted a video. I said, dude, you really need to work on your vibrato. And he's like
Well, they said
an
that to
indie kid.
you,
No, I said it to him.
but you said it him to him.
And I said, "Look, check this out. Like, this is an Yngwie Malmsteen piece, but listen to his." And he's like, "I don't listen to that kind of shred guitar." It's like, no, no, no. It's not about the shred thing. Just listen to how clean and smooth his vibrato is. It's beautiful. And he's just totally shut off to it. And I was just like,
Yeah.
"Well, dude, you're missing out because first of all, your vibrato is shit. It sounds like someone's like "Duh," doing that with their
Yeah,
throat.
yeah,
And secondly, you might pick up on something that you really like.
yeah.
And yeah,
I
like
I remember having in those kind of years, I used to, I feel like I practiced probably most when between the ages of like, I don't know, maybe 13 to 20 or something like
yeah.
that, when you've maybe got more time on your hands and
Hmm.
you're kind of like really keen to like improve every day.
Yeah.
And I can remember having periods of like thinking about vibrato, and sometimes it takes someone to say something to you as well, like that you were saying,
Yeah, yeah.
like I've definitely been around other musicians where maybe not taking the piss out of me, but just kind of you're talking about things like that, which is also helpful to know, well, if I have a really nervous sounding vibrato on every note,
Mm.
it's not going to sound cool. So like just I'm really trying to work on having you know, sort of calm and confident vibrato, as it were.
Mm.
And then also knowing when you can, if you want to have a slight nervous twinge or BB King sort of
Yeah,
slightly
yeah,
faster thing, you can do that. Or you're trying to sound more vocal or
yeah.
something. Or even sometimes like the old school blues players wouldn't put vibrato on certain notes, they'd just be
Mm.
playing notes straight, like bang,
Yeah,
um and so just being aware of that, but also having, I guess, the technique to be able to know how and when to do it, and not overdo it, and
yeah.
it's a bit like timing or something, isn't it?
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
like for me, timing and the feel can be more important than like harmony, for instance. Like
Mm.
if someone's playing something, but the feel of it and it's rushed, or it's, I don't know, not kind of happening, that's I'd rather hear something that's like really funky, or the feel of it
Yeah.
was the essence of it was killer rather than like an amazing lick that's like rushed or got sort of
Yeah.
funny vibrato or something.
Yeah. No, totally. And so what's your view on getting better today, and how's it kind of changed over the years?
Well,
If it has changed over the years.
yeah, don't know really. I mean, it's like define getting better. You know,
Well, that yeah, why don't you define what does getting better mean to you?
well, I guess there's a certain confidence. The more you play and the more things you do that you can get,
Mm,
which might mean playing less. You know, and you so you feel, you know, like to me that would be, you know, there's still things I do where I kind of feel like, oh, I'm doing this because I can and I'm showing off or something. And that doesn't feel like I'm getting better. Sometimes I feel it's more grown up and a lot of the players I love listening to will play less.
yeah.
So sometimes I feel like that's getting better. But in other ways, in more technical ways, it's just knowing your instrument
Mm,
more and feeling more comfortable. Knowing like the fretboard is just never ending in
no,
terms of how
yeah.
much you can learn about it. And just when you think you've kind of got it down, something else will happen. And so I don't know, I guess just feeling more and more like comfortable on the guitar where you can just think, you know, you're thinking of something and you just play it, or
Mm,
you hear something and you can play it. But really, in terms of getting better, it's just being able to, I don't know, there's so many things. Have your own voice, be able to emote and express yourself in such a way that it's just doesn't sound like licks anymore. It
mhm,
sounds like a voice.
yeah.
Getting better with knowledge of chords and harmony, and there's so many things in terms of getting better. But I think it's really just like being able. Yeah, I guess for me it would be finding my own voice
Yeah.
more and more
Okay.
with the guitar. That would be
Yeah.
my definition of like getting better.
And would you say that I mean, is that the sort of thing that you generally work on? If you sit down to work on something, it's like that's what I'm gonna.
Yeah,
How can I make
yeah.
like?
I think
Because I've always look when I listen to your when I listen to you play, whether it's on an Instagram reel, there's a live thing from a video that maybe Tom's put up. It's like your playing is it's very vocalish. Like it's not running scales. It's everything is you could sing it, you could hum it. It's like
that's cool. Yeah.
you can hear that that's what you work on.
Well, that's cool. And that's probably because listen to. I wouldn't say I listen to loads of like guitar based music.
Mm,
I mean, I love people like John Scofield and lots of guitarists, but and of course I listen to that and I have listened to a lot of that sort of music. But I think really you know, when you listen to with I don't know, Donny Hathaway, for example, singing, or Stevie Wonder or Prince or
yeah.
something like that, it's like, I mean, God, if you could play guitar half as good as they can sing in one note, you
Mm,
know, and I think really that's like what I love doing, you know, I just love trying to, and not trying to emulate singers, but like just trying to say something with you playing, like particularly, I guess we're talking about soloing mostly, you know,
mm,
versus playing like a rhythm guitar or
yeah,
something
yeah,
for within a song, but just trying to emote like a singer does,
yeah,
really, you know. So that would be, yeah, I think that's really important, and just trying to when you're playing, like not think from a technical point of view, just
yeah,
be thinking more like what am I trying to say and how can I just kind of get in this song or this moment and get something out that's like means something to me. I feel like it's quite a selfish thing sometimes, music, like you're just trying to sort of turn yourself on really and just
yeah,
play stuff that, you know, I guess like in an improvising playing your own gig sense, you know,
yeah,
when you're playing for an artist or it's a slightly different mindset, you know,
mm,
to if you're doing like your own thing where you're creating or improvising or maybe in the studio or something. Like I think when you're and I actually enjoy going between those two different hats, as it were.
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
I do enjoy being very precise and playing the chords and the notes as intended, or
Mhm.
being more like in the kind of session guitar player mode where
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna, particularly when you're on tour, because you've got to play the same set every night for maybe 40 gigs.
Yeah.
So there's also something really satisfying about, particularly if it's, there's one song we play with Tom Jones, a song called Tower of Song, which is a Leonard Cohen track with, I'm recreating the guitar part that Ethan Johns played on the original, on Tom's version, which is a sort of, this isn't the right key, but it's out of tune, but basically does that sort of one and then goes to
Yeah.
the 4 chord into the 5 chord. But it's very simple, of course, and I get a little click to start me off in my ear, so I know what the pulse is. But
Yeah.
that's just a 4-5 minute song with no click
Yeah.
in front of an audience where, you know, and so it's kind of like things like that that require quite a lot of brain power to, like,
Mm.
if you play one wrong note or you slow down or you speed up. But I quite enjoy the task of that as well. Like, it's a
Yeah. Yeah.
simple
Yeah.
part, but just playing it, like, and trying to be
Hang on.
perfect and trying to, which is a totally different mindset to, like, I'm gonna just sing what I
Yeah. Yeah.
try and
Yeah.
play whatever comes out, stuff like that. I feel like you're constantly sort of working on. Sorry, I'm
No, no,
going
it's
on
cool.
again.
I mean, I was going to ask, like, does Tom give you much freedom on stage, or is he very much, I want it the same every night?
No, Tom's very reactive. I mean, I feel like it depends on the song and the context of what we're doing, really. Tom himself, he'll just react if he's feeling something. And I think over the years, I've kind of got to the point, I've done the gig maybe 11 years now.
Yeah.
So I think he knows, he'll kind of look at me for a solo, or if I'm doing a solo and he's into it, I'll
Yeah.
get and keep going or something. I'll get the vibe that he's into it. But in terms of specific parts, not really. Occasionally there might be the odd thing where he's like, "Oh yeah, can we have that a bit more pushy or a bit less?"
Yeah. Yeah.
But we've kind of got to the, his son Mark Woodward is very involved with the music side of things,
Hmm.
and the drummer Gary Wallace is the MD. So sometimes in rehearsals there will be quite specific sort of chats about recreating something or getting it,
Yeah.
um, giving Tom what he needs for the song to work. But Tom himself is like super chilled. Maybe the key, he might want to bring the key down or something, like a
Yeah.
semitone, or, sometimes you go and run things in the dressing room with him, and he'll just kind of give you a little, I often just look at his foot or where he's feeling the pulse, or
Yeah.
kind of going off his body language as to what he's into. There's lots of little things like that that I think you don't get taught, that you just pick up sort of along the way,
Yeah.
even though you got in-ears in and you might have things helping you in your ears, like a click or something. There's just some very basic stuff that you get from, like, Tom's been on stage performing since the 60s.
Yeah.
So he knows what he's doing. So
Yeah.
you can learn a lot from watching him
Yeah.
and how he approaches something or a song or music. And sometimes he's not very technical in terms of the way he talks about stuff. He's all about feel, and
Mm.
he's not going to know, are you playing this inversion of this chord at that
Yeah.
point or
There's no
something.
dominant flat nines chords being
Yeah,
being
but
thrown
he's
in.
going to know if it's the wrong chord or if it's
Right.
not
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
right voicing just from the way it sounds. So his ear is incredible. Sorry, I've gone off on a tangent
No, no,
there.
it's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. The other thing, do you like your playing? When you listen back to it, you're like, man, I'm nailing that.
Yeah, I think I do for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always, of course you hear things that you wanna, you're like, "Oh, why did I do that there?" Or maybe next time I won't
Mm.
do that. But I think for me, I think you have to like your voices, whatever you're doing,
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
instrument you're playing, or you definitely have to have a bit of self-confidence to be like, "Yeah, I got this." I
Yeah.
prefer the sound of my guitar playing to my talking voice, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Much more comfortable playing guitar than I am, like, talking about playing guitar.
Okay.
This probably more nervous, well, not nervous is the wrong word, but probably more self-conscious doing this than I would be if we were just, I don't know, doing a gig or something,
Yeah. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
in the studio.
Okay. Cool. Anything coming up for next year?
Yeah, hopefully some more stuff with Tom. I do this gig every January, which is, with a guy called Paul Jones, who used to be in a band called Manfred Mann, and it's a charity gig, in Guildford. Paul Jones and Friends.
Yeah.
he always has various guests. And over the years, it's been like Eric Clapton or Van Morrison
Sweet.
or Paul Weller. Robin Ford did it last year, actually.
Wow.
And so I did do the house band for that
Yeah.
with a friend of mine called Paddy Milner, who's actually the piano player in Tom's band. Yeah, that's probably the next thing sort of on the horizon. Yeah, I don't know. Don't have loads in the diary at the moment, but
'Cause
things can change,
it changes rapidly. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, Scott, thanks very much for coming on. I've really, really appreciate it. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Cheers.
All right, cool.